Becoming part of the cosmic grid. Yo, what's up? It's someone that's no one, and welcome back to today's report. Today's report was sent in by Almos K, where he took LSD and cannabis. And here's the full report details. Alright, here's a pretty dope first time acid trip. Almos and his friends were both trying to have a first time ever psychedelic experience. Apparently this happened after they both tried to have mescaline and shrooms, but they didn't feel anything from them. Which I'm guessing they probably just got scammed or something, them being new to psychs and all. But they try acid next, and it seems to do the trick. But they do have a long come up in this, as well as having effects after the normal 12 hours. So it is possible that this wasn't LSD. I'll let you be the judge. This turns out to be a really satisfying trip for them, with visuals and deep trippy thoughts. You'll just see. I'm sure you'll enjoy this one, so without further ado, let's dive right into this. Dear someone that's no one, here's the story of the first time I tried a psychedelic substance. Acid, plus weed, but that wasn't planned. It was an incredible and profound experience. I hope you find it interesting too. My first psychedelic experience. After a failed attempt at tripping 2 weeks ago, when me and my friend both took a generous dose of mescaline and mushrooms and went on to feel absolutely nothing the rest of the night, we decided to try acid instead, because there's no way that doesn't work, and I was more drawn to that substance as a first entry into this world anyway. This would be my first time trying any psychedelic, and the first time for my friend to try acid, although he has a lot of experience with other substances. After picking up 2 waters at our dealers and going home, we dropped the tabs, one half for each of us, because we were told that there was a whopping 750 micrograms on every tab, and that's just way too much, especially for a first use. We sat down and started to talk about old times. We are very old friends, so there were plenty of memories to remember and plenty of, mostly hilarious, stories to retell. My friend is the funniest guy ever, so we were laughing our asses off as usual. T plus 45 minutes. We decided to head out for a walk in the park. We figured being in nature would be the best place for the come up. While walking around in the dark, we just talked and talked, and after an hour, still feeling nothing, only a barely noticeable body high. We headed home. When we arrived, we watched some funny videos for about 10 minutes or so, and we decided to watch a movie, Spirited Away, a perfect choice in my opinion. By this time, 2 hours had passed since dropping, and we were really getting nervous, as there were noticeable effects, only an overwhelming calmness, a peace I've never felt before. There were absolutely no problems in the world in that minute. I only realized much later that this was really the beginning of the acid. Since we didn't feel anything, even after 2 hours, we dropped the other half of the acid and started the movie. It was quite an interesting viewing experience. Spirited Away is a beautiful movie, and it combined with this overwhelming feeling of peace made it a very nice watch. Yet another hour has passed, and we really didn't feel any of the acid. There weren't any visuals. Enraged by the thought that we would be sober again this whole night like last time, we decided to smoke some weed. We rode up at once and headed out to the park again. We walked a small ways and smoked. Finally, we were high. Satisfied by the weed, we returned home and finished the movie. It was even better now. Everything got so awe-inspiring and wonderful. It was amazing. When it was over, the weed was starting to go away. Still no acid visuals. Still nothing. We thought, let's go out for another joint. So we did and came back high again. This was shortly after midnight, 5 hours after dropping the first tab and 2 after the second. We decided to kick back, lie down in bed, and just talk. When I lay down, satisfied by the high of the weed, I closed my eyes for a minute and said, I feel like a constellation. And immediately, I can see in front of my eyes a group of bright stars forming a constellation in the shape of a person. After a few more seconds, I said, "Wow, I'm seeing all these weird lines and colors. How cool." To which my friend responded, excitedly, "What the fuck? I see them too." This was the moment we realized the acid did really kick in after all. So we were just lying on our beds and started our first ever acid trip. For a good few minutes, I didn't believe what I was seeing. I wasn't convinced that these fractals were really there. I thought that maybe I was just imagining it. But soon, I had to admit that they really were there. They really existed. It wasn't just my imagination. I can finally understand why people say they can't describe it. You really can't. I was flying through infinite fractals, always morphing and changing, never stopping, infinitely complex. I feel like I've seen every possible combination of colors and shapes. And as soon as I thought that, an even more beautiful and stunning and complex fractal would manifest itself. And this went on and on. My jaw was dropped. I never closed my mouth in the time I was tripping, and I was constantly gasping for air and exclaiming with just small moans or words, "How beautiful! I can see everything. I can feel everything. This is the best thing ever." The coolest thing was that I could, after a short time, control the scenery a bit with both my thoughts and my body. By moving my arms and legs, I can draw with them or walk on a path of light, or just simply feel like I'm suspended in LSD space and float in an infinite world of fractals. It was the most beautiful thing I have ever seen. The fractals felt like they were both infinitely small and light years big. Another incredible aspect of the trip was the waves of euphoria that washed over me periodically, sometimes caused by sheer beauty of the fractals, sometimes just spontaneously, but it came every few seconds. It was like an orgasm, but pure and beautiful. My legs weakened, and I needed to gasp for air and moaned every time. After about 30 minutes of just admiring the scenery, I started to have hallucinations on my life and about people. Anywhere my thoughts went, things, memories, and persons manifested themselves in my fractal world, in fractal form, and I could talk to them and embrace them and love them. I can now control the flow of the experience a bit and guide my thoughts, and that's what I did. I walked across my mind and everything I encountered, people I love, people I've done bad things to, things I regret, things I want to do, my insecurities, my fears, every little thing. I took them and embraced them. I told them I love them, I forgive them, and I accept them. After doing this, I don't know for how long, I feel like I visited every place in my mind that I could think of then. So I decided to venture out. By that time didn't exist for me anymore, and I felt like my mind wanted to slip out of my head. It was like there was an opening in my forehead, and that's where I was, trying to leave, but couldn't fully. I didn't feel most of my body, only my shoulders and head. I was halfway out there, above my body, above my head in the air. As I was just thinking this, I told someone, I don't know who exactly, the presence I felt, that I want to see the birth of the universe. What happened wasn't really what I wanted, but what I needed. I was flown across space into a different realm. It was full of bright, infinitely long strings of cores that flickered in every imaginable color, forming a grid. I was there, floating above it, and then I was told to join it. I became one of the points, the intersection of two strings. I was no longer corporeal, I was pure energy, attached to an infinite grid. I realized immediately that this cosmic grid was made up of all sentience in the universe. Everyone I knew and loved was near me, a part of the grid. I was vibrating. The entire grid was. And I was told that this cosmic grid and the energy of its vibrations is what makes up the whole universe. It was incredible. I was one with everyone and the universe. Slowly, the hallucinations turned into realistic visions. Not so much fractal manifestations, but a bit more like dreams. And I found myself dozing off a lot, but I always woke up. I did this for a long time and then finally fell asleep. While sleeping, I felt like I was having thousands of dreams simultaneously, but I can't remember any of them, only their presence. Next morning, I felt like I was a completely different person. I still had the calmness and peace from yesterday, and I still had some very slight visuals, mostly closed eye, and I could one time turn the walls of the room red, if I concentrated hard enough, but that was it. I had to travel home and visit my mom that day, and on the train ride I realized that this calm feeling wasn't really the after effect of the LSD, but the very end of the trip itself. I spent the rest of the day listening to music on the balcony, staring out onto the infinite green fields and dozing off into the peace of the acid. The trip lasted altogether 24 hours, from dropping the water to the effects completely disappearing. It was an incredible experience, one I will repeat many times in the future. I am beyond happy for finally doing this.